And
Welcome,
you're tuned
pod.
back in once more to TCM POD, the Chris Mathis podcast. Chris Mathis alongside, again, in front of my co-host Spencer Mathis once more. Very exciting stuff here on the podcast, coming off of an awesome Talk to Him Tuesday edition of the Chris Mathis podcast with Super Bowl 37 champion Brad Johnson. That was a lot of fun, and Spencer got to take part in that interview, so that made it even more cool. But I know that you guys enjoyed watching that, listening to that on Spotify, Apple, the whole 9 yards, and that was just something that we hope to continue to do in the future with other athletes, maybe some of Brad's friends, and of course athletes in other sports too. So Spence, how'd you feel about Talk to Him Tuesday and that opportunity that we had to have a Super Bowl champion quarterback right here on the show?
Yeah, it was really cool to get to talk to Brad Johnson because, I mean, we used to watch that same Super Bowl DVD over and over again, and he was one of the main people in that Super Bowl run. He had a really good season in 2002, even though he missed a couple of games. Almost every game that he started, he won. He lost 2 games out of all the games that he started the whole season. So Brad Johnson is a very good quarterback, and it was fun hearing how he got started. Yeah,
it was. At one point, if you guys didn't tune into the interview, he almost quit football and was going to be a teacher. But you guys got to go check out that interview. But totally worth your time. We've got to really hop into the playoff games that happened from over the weekend. But before we do that, I think we need to mention our Am I Wrong first. So the question is, was I wrong this past weekend? No, I was not. I said the San Francisco 49ers would beat the Green Bay Packers. They did in Green Bay. It was a close game, 13-10 the final score. I was not wrong. I think we'll get more into that game after you mention your Am I Wrong, Spence, and then we'll talk more about the other 3 playoff games as well.
Yeah, I had the Bengals over the Titans in this game on Saturday, right? Was that Saturday?
Yeah, it was Saturday.
So I was correct there. I mean, Joe Burrow had a pretty good game. He got sacked 9 times, but we'll get more in depth on that. But I was correct. The Bengals did defeat the Titans 19-16.
So once again, we were right on our picks. It feels good as we near the end of the regular, as we near the end of the football season in general, which kind of stinks. I don't really want to think about it, but it has been a lot of fun. And now that our team is knocked out, I can really focus on every team fairly and not have my heart broken, here in the playoffs, as it already was broken last weekend. But again, we'll talk about that Bucs game as the Buccaneers took on the Los Angeles Rams. Final score 30-27. Bucs came up short by 3. And of course, the Rams led for the majority of the game. At one point, they were up by 24 points. Bucs outscored them 24-0. Tied things up at 27-all. And, the Rams were able to get it done in the final seconds of that game. The Bucs defense not so hot down the stretch. It could be argued that Todd Bowles, defensive coordinator, didn't call a great game. Could be argued that the Bucs offense came out flat. Could be argued that the Bucs kicker, Ryan Suckup, cost the team the game in the long run. He missed a field goal, but there's a lot of different things that played into it. I think ultimately, that one play, near the end of the game that set up the game-winning field goal for Matt Gay sucked. It was the real heartbreaker. That was the dagger, of course, that set up the field goal. But in reality, I think that the failure of the offensive line was the big difference in that game. Tom Brady had second least amount of time to throw the football, to release the ball out of his hands in his entire career. Regular season, playoff, Super Bowl, every game included second least amount of time to get rid of the football. It was under 2 seconds or maybe right at 2 seconds. And if you watched that game at all, or if you saw any highlights from that game, you'd see Von Miller was in his face at all times. Aaron Donald was near him at all times, applying a lot of pressure. Obviously, Bucs had to be without one of their star players, and Tristan Wirfs, he was out this week. So that was a big dagger in the game and really hurt the Bucs. But of course, Tom Brady did his thing. He kept the team in the ball game, all things considered, and gave his team a shot to win during the final minutes.
Yeah, I think the entire game just comes down to injuries that the Buccaneers faced. And going into that game, we had said that if Tristan Wirfs doesn't get to go, I think that the Rams were going to win. Tristan Wirfs didn't go. Tom Brady was under constant duress the entire game. I mean, Von Miller looked like prime Von Miller against Donovan Smith. So it was sad because that was one of Donovan Smith's worst game in the past 2 seasons since Jameis has been gone. So just a bad performance by the offensive line. And then on that final drive, I mean, we blitzed everyone for no reason after we had just gotten a sack. With 30 seconds left, the Rams had no timeouts, and we just decided to blitz everyone, and that ultimately cost us the game. Cooper Kupp had a big game, of course, but I just think it comes down to injuries. especially on the offensive line. And then if you had Godwin, if he would have not got injured versus the Saints in like week 13, I think this game's a bit different.
What did you think about the Von Miller high hit on Tom Brady that didn't get called against Von Miller? Busted Tom's lip. That's besides the point. That was kind of like the cherry on top to prove that he really did get high from Von Miller off the edge. But they call Tom Brady a penalty, unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, 15 yards for him. Arguing the ref, pointing at his lip. Hey, look, ref, there's blood. I mean, it was clear as day. And on top of that, Von Miller left his feet. It wasn't just that he unfortunately hit high or whatnot. It looked very much intentional to me. He planted his feet and then jumped right into Tom Brady's helmet, his chin area. So, did you see that as well? Were you thinking, hey, what the heck was this?
It should have been a flag on Von Miller, or at the worst, it shouldn't have there should have been no penalty on Tom Brady. I mean, he always pleads his case to the refs. He even said it in an interview like a week prior to the game, and I think the refs were watching that because they love to control the games. So, I mean, that play didn't really cost us very much. The one that cost us a little bit more was the Ndamukong Suh penalty that they called after he got a sack on Stafford. I don't know about that one either, but ultimately what cost us the game was our defense, Todd Bowles.
Yeah, and no doubt. Again, you talked about that blitz there against Matt Stafford. He made it look easy, threw it up to Cooper Kupp, and I think I turned away from the TV as soon as he launched it because I knew he was going to get beat deep, especially when you're blitzing the safety, right? I think we blitzed one of our safeties.
Well, you had Sean Murphy-Bunting lined up right in front of Cooper Kupp, and he blitzes for no reason. So we had 7 guys blitzing and 4 guys in coverage deep. So just a really awful play call.
Yeah, no doubt. And we kind of went out of order there according to schedule of when the games were played. So our excuse there was that the Bucs, our favorite team, took on the Rams. Now we'll go back to Saturday's games in which the Cincinnati Bengals pulled off a victory in Nashville. The final scored 19-16. What a game there. Derrick Henry, the king, returned for the Titans, but of course a little bit rusty, unable to get the job done there for the Titans, even though their defensive line had 9 sacks against Joe Burrow, Joey Burr, Joey Franchise, whatever you want to call the guy. The guy is legit. Some way, somehow, the Bengals prevailed by 3 on the road in a big-time playoff game. And it was a bit of a shocker considering that, again, the Titans had 9 sacks on Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of those sacks were on Joe Burrow, in my opinion. I think at least 4 of those were his fault. He's holding on to the ball a little bit too long, not getting the ball out of his hands. His biggest play of the game was a dump-off to Jamar Chase that went for 60 yards. So I think it was just a bad execution on Burrow's part, but what ended up costing the Titans is what we all thought would. It was Ryan Tannehill. He threw 3 interceptions. The final interception, a bad play, a bad throw. I mean, you're at midfield and you force it into double coverage, and it gets intercepted, and then McPherson comes in and kicks the 54-yard game winner.
Yeah, McPherson played lights out there, and he's played lights out all season for the Bengals, especially in crunch time, but all in all, I am a bit shocked that the Titans did lose that game. I thought that they were going to win because they were the home team. Of course, Derrick Henry was returning, which I wasn't banking on that to really change the outcome of the game. He's coming off a pretty bad injury. Had 2,000 yards on him last year, close to that, and then this year had a lot of yards on him, a lot of mileage on him. Had been out for 10, 11 weeks, came back, and they thought that, put the team on his back. But Ryan Tannehill really cost the Tennessee Titans a playoff game, and I think you might consider other options moving forward. Just the way you play in a big-time game at home. Everybody thought that you were going to win. I think they were a 3-point favorite heading into that game, and you wet the bed. You throw 3 picks. I think 2 of them were pretty awful throws, if I'm not mistaken. Obviously,
one of them was tipped. Another one was tipped, but it was in a double coverage. So
yeah, so it was a bad throw.
But I could definitely see if the Niners lose on Sunday, I could see them trying to trade Jimmy G over the offseason, and maybe the Titans could be the suitors of Jimmy G. I feel like that's a pretty good situation for him. It's a lot like where he is with the 49ers right now. It's like the exact same team, just in the AFC.
Yeah, and that's a good point. We'll have to see if they kind of do a little bit of a swap there. Also on Saturday, we talked about it a little bit. San Francisco was my hot take to win last week over the Green Bay Packers. They did win 13-10, the final score. I'm not quite sure there. The Packers were the home team. They only put up 10 points at home. Aaron Rodgers did not have a great game, and he's caught a lot of hate. A lot of people are rooting against Aaron Rodgers for his whole I've been immunized situation. I mean, I saw it all over social media. Hey, I'm pulling against or I'm rooting against Aaron Rodgers just for that. I think that's a bit ridiculous.
Yeah.
But he did play bad.
Yeah,
All of that aside, he played terrible.
He had a bad game
on Saturday.
They started off with a touchdown on the first drive and then just didn't do anything for the rest of the game. The 49ers defense played great. Bosa was after him all game. Armstead, I mean, their defensive line was there.
Racked up 5 sacks.
Yeah, they were disguising very well, bringing blitzes off the edge, and it really just Rodgers couldn't overcome it. I mean, the run game got shut down, and then all they had to focus on was the pass game, and that was the end.
So Aaron Rodgers once made the statement whenever he was taken by Green Bay and San Francisco passed up on him, and he said, San Francisco would regret not drafting me. Yeah. He's now 0-4 all time. Or is that just postseason alone?
I think that's postseason alone.
Postseason alone, 0-4 against San Francisco, which is crazy because you just look at the other side alone. I get that the Green Bay Packer offensive line didn't play great against the San Francisco defensive line. A lot of sacks in that game. Again, 5 sacks on Aaron Rodgers over the weekend. But all in all, when you stack up the quarterback play, Jimmy G against Aaron Rodgers, you would think that Rodgers could somehow muster out a victory at home. You know, Lambeau Field, entire crowd pulling for you guys. You're obviously the favorited team. And Jimmy Garoppolo only completed 11 passes in that game, 1 pick, 0 touchdowns, and he got sacked 4 times.
Well, if you go back to the NFC Championship game in 2019, I believe Garoppolo only completed like 5 passes in that game. I mean, Raheem Mostert ran for 200 and something yards. Rodgers didn't perform again. It seems like Rodgers is great. He's a great quarterback. He's one of the best of all time. But in crunch time, he just doesn't perform well, and that's just how it goes. I mean, last year, NFC Championship game against the Bucs, Brady throws 3 interceptions. Rodgers' offense still doesn't win the game. He threw 2 interceptions, couldn't get the touchdown on their final chance, and that just seems to be the story of Rodgers in the playoffs.
Yeah, and I think that's the story. I think that's the final page of Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay in the storybook.
Yeah, 100%. I can definitely see
100%.
Rodgers going to the Broncos. The Broncos did just hire the Packers offensive coordinator, which is weird because it doesn't seem like the Packers offensive coordinator is the one calling plays for Green Bay.
Yeah.
So a weird hire. So I think that hire is just directly linked to Aaron Rodgers. Him and Rodgers must have a good relationship, and that could be like the draw. Him drawing in Rodgers to the Broncos.
Oh, I guarantee the first question that they asked the offensive coordinator of the Packers, now current head coach of the Broncos, was, hey, you know, what do you think of our current quarterback situation? And they said, yeah, you know what, it could be a little bit better. I can bring in Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, the
Signed.
question probably was,
Boom.
is there any chance Rodgers would come here? And as soon as he answered yes, of course, because why would you not?
Yeah.
That probably got him the job, honestly.
Yeah, and even if you don't get Rodgers, you got the job. So
even if you don't get Rodgers, you still have a chance at getting Russell Wilson. So they have to get one of those two with their defense. I mean, they're just wasting it.
It's been wasted for 3 years now.
Yeah.
3 or 4 years, ever since, blanking the quarterback that was drafted. Drew Lock was taken. Yep.
And
ever since he was, Teddy Two Glove. Then Sunday, we talked about the Bucs game against the Rams. Bucs fell short by 3, 30-27, the final score. The Bills and Chiefs game, we talked about it on the pod last week, Spence. We said that was going to be the game of the week. All 4 games last weekend would be awesome, but if we had to pick one, that no matter who you pull for, no matter who you hate, no matter if you're a hater of both of these teams, this is the one game that you must tune into. And boy, was it. That arguably may have been the best playoff game, not Super Bowl game I've seen, but the best playoff game I've seen in years. Again, I would take the Tom Brady comeback against the Atlanta Falcons over this game, but that was the Super Bowl. So strictly playoffs, that might have been the best playoff game that I've ever witnessed. The final score, the Chiefs win 42-36 over the Bills. I mean, it was unreal. I've got numbers here regarding both quarterbacks that dominated, obviously, the future of the NFL and those 2 quarterbacks, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. And again, I was hoping that Josh Allen would win, but Pat Mahomes has a little bit better weapons. It's a Ferrari with top-line Pirelli tires, and then you've got Josh Allen, who's a little bit of a lesser model of that Ferrari, not a high-end package, with decent tires compared to Pat Mahomes and his weapons. Pat Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, McCole Hardman, and then you look at Josh Allen's weapons. He's got Stephon Diggs, that tight end, Drew Knox, and that's real. Oh, Gabriel Davis too, but. Yeah. I mean, still, even at that point, Gabe Davis went off, by far his best game of his career. Tyreek Hill would do that any day. Travis Kelce could go off any day. Those other guys on the Bills, besides Stephon Diggs, couldn't necessarily go off. Pat Mahomes, 33 of 44, 378 yards. He was the winner in that game. Josh Allen, 27 of 37, 329 yards. Mahomes had 3 touchdown passes. Allen had 4 touchdown passes. The game was just unreal. I forget the exact number of points scored there in the last 2 minutes. It was 20-plus points scored in the last 2 minutes. The Chiefs won the game with less than 12 seconds on the clock. They scored a touchdown, or they had the ball with less than 12 seconds on the clock after the Bills scored a touchdown courtesy of Gabriel Davis, his 4th touchdown of the game. All in all, one heck of a ball game. A little bit disappointed that Josh Allen lost the game, but again, Patrick Mahomes got the job done for the Chiefs, and Tyreek Hill is just a freaking cheat code. He looks like a Madden creative player out there for Kansas City.
Yeah, Mahomes outdueled Josh Allen in this game. I mean, I wanted Josh Allen to win as well after watching the game, but I picked the Chiefs to win this game, and I just thought it would come down to which defense was going to play better, and somehow the Bills' defense, which was the best pass defense in the league the entire season, just completely just fell apart on that final drive. I mean, 13 seconds, gave up 50 yards, 1 play to Tyreek Hill, 1 play to Travis Kelce, and that was the end of the game. I mean, that took them to overtime, and then in overtime, it took the Chiefs 4 plays to go down the entire length of the field. So the Chiefs' offense absolutely murdered the Bills' defense, which was unexpected. Mahomes threw for 378 yards and ran for 69 yards, so he had about 450 yards total in this game, along with 4 total touchdowns. So he had a great game, and that's basically why they won.
Again, in that fourth quarter alone, we saw 10, 17, 24, 30 points scored in the fourth quarter of that ball game. Unreal. And again, that was one of those games in which you're looking at the future Peyton Manning and Tom Brady matchup that we'll see for the next 10, 12, 15 years, barring any major injury for either quarterback. And it's going to be a lot of fun to see these guys continue to improve. And after the game, they dapped each other up, and Pat Mahomes said, hey, we're going to do this a lot, you know. So that was cool. Obviously, a game respects game when you're that good. And again, I got to give credit to Pat Mahomes. He outdueled Josh Allen, as you said, Spence, and showed up, rung the bell for the Kansas City Chiefs. They advanced to the next round. So, and there were several players that balled out this weekend. And when I say several, there were guys all over the field for every game, every marquee matchup that we had in the playoffs that arguably made a difference in the game. But for me, it was Cooper Kupp who dominated. And again, he rung the bell for the, not Buffalo Bills, for the Los Angeles Rams. As he came up big. I think he had 9 catches on 11 targets. He did have a fumble, but that was a freak play. I didn't know the guy could fumble the ball, but he did. He had 9 catches, 183 yards, a touchdown, and then, set up the game-winning field goal for Matt Stafford's Rams. Matt Gay came in, kicked the game-winning field goal. I guess it was 30-something yards, if I'm not mistaken.
It was like
around
40.
Yeah, it wasn't anything crazy, but Matt Gay used to kick for the Bucs, which really sucked for me because we went to 2 or 3 games where Matt Gay was our kicker in Tampa, and he shanked, every other kick. It was, hey, this is wide left, this is wide right. So whenever he went down the field, they call on Matt Gay to kick the game away, put the dagger in the Bucs season. I was like, you know what? There's a shot that this guy misses perfectly right down the pipes. Matt Gay won the game for the Rams. Cooper Kupp, my player of the week again, 9 catches, 183 yards, a touchdown, and most importantly, that huge catch right down the seam to set up the game-winning field goal for the Rams kicker, Matt Gay.
Yeah, my player of the week this week is Patrick Mahomes. We've already read off his stats, but I'm going to do it again. 33 of 44, 378 yards through the air with 3 touchdowns, a 123 QBR, and then running the ball, he went 7 for 69 and a touchdown. I mean, against the best defense in the league. The one thing that is the Achilles heel of the Bills, though, is their rush defense. They gave up 10 yards a carry to Mahomes, 9 yards a carry to Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and 15 yards a carry to Mecole Hardman. So the Chiefs won that game. Mahomes absolutely engineered a great game. They're going to play the Bengals next week in Arrowhead Stadium, so that's going to be an uphill battle for the Bengals, but I think Mahomes is my player of the week for this week. I mean, he kind of outdueled Josh Allen as much as I don't want to say it. He played a little bit better, and they won the game.
Yeah, again, Kansas City advances. We'll talk more about those upcoming playoff games that are taking place this weekend. Again, talking about the AFC Championship game, NFC Championship game on a Sunday. And we'll dive more into those, our predictions and hot takes too momentarily. But we have to transition to our Rookie of the Week. And at this point in the season, when you have, 4 games played last week in the NFL, it's hard to pick out one Rookie of the Week. However, I think that this might be a general consensus that we can both agree on. The kicker for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah.
Rookie Evan McPherson balled out. He went 4 for 4 from field goals last weekend in the playoff game over the Titans, in which they won. Final score again was 19-16. They advanced. On top of that, he knocked in a PAT as well. And then right before he kicked the game-winning field goal, 52-yard game-winning field goal. Joe Burrow said this in his post-game interview after the win, that McPherson was getting ready to go out there and kick, the field goal. Got in one kick to kind of warm up his leg, and then looked at Joey B and said, looks like we're going to the AFC Championship game, before he stepped out of the field, took the snap, and then kicked the ball through the uprights. The balls on this guy as a rookie, I love to see that, and obviously confidence is key with a kicker, but this guy said that before he kicked the kick of his life, and it's not something that he's new to. He's 8 for 8 in the postseason right now, and he's hit 4 game winners this season alone. His rookie year with the Bengals, I want to say something along the lines of most kicks over 45 or 50 yards plus in a single season, including the postseason, for any kicker, much less a rookie.
Yeah, he's got a leg on him. I mean, we have Greg the Leg. This guy should be named something along the lines of that. But going back to what he said before he kicked the game-winning kick, I mean, if he misses that kick, we would have never heard anything about it.
Oh, yeah.
Same thing goes with the Chiefs, where Andy Reid told Mahomes, when things get grim, be the Grim Reaper. It's kind of sad, though, that we couldn't see the Steelers win their game against the Chiefs, because we could have seen Tomlin say the same thing to Big Ben without one of the E's in Reaper. So it would have been cool to see that, but instead we had the Chiefs win and we had the Bengals win, and McPherson is definitely the Rookie of the Week this week. I mean, he had 13 points by himself, which kind of doesn't bode well next week for the Bengals. Their offense is their main thing, but their defense is what carried them in this game, and they're going to need 40-plus points against the Chiefs to win. So we'll see how that goes. But McPherson, definitely Rookie of the Week.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. A kicker, I think that's the first time that we've ever had a kicker win Player of the Week or Rookie of the Week ever. Yeah. So, I mean, that's big. That's big time. Stepped up in the biggest moment of his NFL career, probably of his football career in general, and he's just a rookie. I think he's 23 years old. Out of University of Florida, this guy used to post TikTok videos left and right of him at the Florida Gator indoor facility, and would put a Gatorade bottle on top of the upright and would kick it, from 40 yards out and knock the top off the Gatorade bottle.
Yeah, he's good.
Speaking of TikTok, we have a TikTok now, Spence. Check us out, TCM POD on TikTok. We're posting videos, short clips, making sure to get our stuff out there. Please go do so. Again, we're on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube as well.
And the hub.
TCM POD. TCM_pod is the place to go. And again, we post short clips, a lot of fun stuff. If you guys want to check us out and support us, a follow, a like, a comment really goes a long way here. And obviously, TikTok, not necessarily my favorite thing in the world, but I think it is really cool. It's a great way to help promote our podcast and promote the work that we put into this. And any likes, any subscriptions will definitely help out. And obviously, we've talked about, I guess, the last 4 or 5 weeks about a Stooge of the Week. And each and every week it changes up. You just don't know who it is, especially as of late. You have Antonio Brown, Big Ben as an option as of late. Urban Meyer's been in the talks as Stooge of the Week. But I don't think that we really went over the Stooge of the Week pre-show, Spence. I think that obviously this is Spencer's Stooge of the Week segment. It's handed off to you. I could do a better handoff than anybody out there when it comes to this segment. So, Spence, Stooge of the Week.
Well, this week's Stooge of the Week is the first time we're going to pick a offensive or defensive coordinator. We're going to go defensive coordinator Todd Bowles, who is a head coaching candidate. Please, someone take him off the Buccaneers' hands, because with 30 seconds left, we brought 7 of our 11 defenders. The guy that was lined up right across from Cooper Kupp blitzed. Cooper Kupp was the best receiver in the NFL, hands down, this season. We blitzed the guy on him, leaves him one-on-one with Antoine Winfield. And that was just the game, because he's a little bit faster, of course, because he is a slot receiver. So just a stupid play call, and that cost the Bucs their playoff run, and it cost Tom Brady one of the best comebacks of all time because 24 unanswered, that would have been a lot like 28-3. I mean, the score was 27-3 at one point, and we lost because of Todd Bowles' call. Also, a 3rd and 19 touchdown. We gave up a 70-yarder to Cooper Kupp. So
Cooper again.
Maybe we would have learned something from that touchdown. Instead, did it again, lost the game.
Yeah, Todd Bowles, hopefully he's out. I know he's got a lot of interest from other teams. Please, you guys want him? Yeah, take him. Anybody that wants to pay Todd Bowles too much money, please take him.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, though, because we've already lost Byron Leftwich, of course. So I'm interested to see where Todd Bowles will go. I think he's going to get an opportunity because Dan Quinn is staying with the Cowboys next season. So he's going to go somewhere, and it's going to be weird to see who the offensive and defensive coordinator is that Bruce Arians brings in, because whoever it is, one of those two is probably going to be the guy that takes over when Arians retires after next season, probably.
And we talked about, the Bucs assistant coaches, too. They're getting plucked like feathers. I mean, seriously, they've got a lot of guys that are getting looks from everywhere. Again, I talked about Larry Foote, linebacker coach. He's a sleeper for defensive coordinator, and they're talking about a team looking at him. Spytek, who's in the front office, director of personnel, he's looked at for a GM position. These guys, and also on top of that, Byron Leftwich, whoever he wants off this squad, he can take with him. He can say, you know what, hey, come with me. I'll promote you to OC. So it's going to be scary. And same thing can be said about Todd Bowles and what he does and where he goes. It's just easy as, hey, man, you know what, you did a lot of great things in Tampa. Come be, a defensive coordinator for me. You don't have to be a DB's coach anymore. Step up to the plate. You got a big-time opportunity with big-time dollars right in front of your face.
I mean, that always, with any winning team, you're going to lose defensive coordinators, offensive coordinators, position coaches like the Bucs in 2002 lost Tomlin. Tomlin would have been a great successor of John Gruden. Instead, he got plucked up by the Steelers. They won a Super Bowl in like his 3rd year of coaching. So that was a big loss for Tampa Bay. Bowles is nowhere near the level that Mike Tomlin is, but it's gonna be weird to see who they're gonna replace those two with.
Yeah, I think it'll be really a matter of time. I think it also determines if Tom Brady comes back.
Yeah, hopefully we can get a young
Cooper
offensive
Kupp
coordinator. Is what I want.
And Tom Brady's career.
I think Brady plays one more season, but I hope we can get like a young offensive coordinator that can take over whenever Arians and Brady retire together after next season.
Josh McDaniels is an option, but
nah.
We'll see. I think he's going to go for a head coaching job, honestly. And I think Kellen Moore, I heard Kellen Moore, his chances of becoming a head coach are now diminished as well. So I think both coordinators stay in Dallas.
I think McDaniels his opportunities as a head coach are just not there anymore, honestly.
Yeah, I think he was a head coach about 9-10 years ago.
He was head coach with the Denver Broncos when Tebow was there.
That's right. 2011, yep.
Tebow was statistically the most inaccurate quarterback of all time. Fun fact.
And again, McDaniels worked with Tom Brady for years, and Tom Brady and Bill Belichick and all those guys maybe made him look a lot better than he is, especially in terms of wins. Now, you guys need to check out Drip and Ice on social media or their website, thedripandIce.com. Go ahead and check out their website because they are having a new release of product come out soon. And again, I'm wearing the same. Again, I do not have my Drip and Ice hoodie on, but it is the most comfortable hoodie out there. It's still hanging up in the closet. I have yet to take it down. But the Drip and Ice brings us our Shankarooski segment of the week, and we talked about it week after week as of late. First couple of weeks in the NFL, we saw 23, 24 missed field goals, 5, 6, 10, 11 missed extra points. As the season went on, we saw maybe 18 missed field goals, 3 or 4 extra points, and now we're down to just a few. In fact, we had 1, 2, 3, 4 missed field goals, 1 extra point missed this week. That's it in the playoffs. Again, only 4 games happened last weekend, but still, to only see 4 missed field goals, 1 extra point missed after seeing 20-something before that. It says a lot about these kickers.
Yeah,
These are the real deal guys.
The missed kicks went down, but one thing that stayed constant was the Packers special teams.
Are you hinting at who our Shankarooski?
Yeah. The Shankarooski this week is the entire Packers special teams. I mean, I said it from the jump around like week 12 that the Packers special teams was going to cost them a playoff game.
You did.
It ultimately did. Blocked punt for a touchdown by the Niners. A blocked kick right before halftime by the Niners. I mean, that right there is 10 points off the board or on the board, depending on how you think about it. And that cost them the game. I mean, Rodgers, of course, had a bad game, but no turnovers. I mean, they still had an opportunity to win. Jimmy Garoppolo wins all of his games like Rodgers played. Garoppolo basically didn't do anything this week either, and they still won, and that was because of the Packers special teams, and it cost them their playoff chances again. Last year, they had a couple of shanks against the Bucs, so their special teams, whoever their special teams coordinator is never going to get another job again. He's going to be fired. It's bad. I think they had four different long snappers throughout the season as well. So
the inconsistency, and I don't understand how you can have that much of a struggle with a long snapper.
Yeah.
I know it is definitely an important job.
Oh, it's a
doubt.
It's
a tough job.
It's a big position. I mean, but it seems like they want an athletic long snapper when they should have just gone for a long snapper that can just snap the ball correctly. This guy had a lot of off snaps, and on that kick, he snapped a little high. The punter that was holding for the kicker put it down just in time, but it was a little bit off, and that's how they got their kick blocked. So special teams for the Packers cost them the game.
And yeah, you said that last week. You said you expected the Packers to win the game, but you said if they do lose, it's because of the special teams. You said, as you said, I mean, the last 3 or 4 weeks that they are the worst. And, you look at the stats and you think, okay, whatever. They got Aaron Rodgers. They've got Devontae Adams. They have Aaron Jones. They have all these guys that can step up and outweigh a missed field goal or, a turnover off a punt block or whatnot. But when it came down to grind time, to when it really mattered the most, they really outshined Aaron Rodgers in a negative light, and they screwed over the Packers' playoff chances. Again, everybody kind of thought that the Packers would win it all. I was not in that boat, but people were like, Aaron Rodgers needs this ring for his resume to be considered, top 3, top 5 quarterback of all time. He loses it once more. Again, we talked about he's not a great playoff postseason quarterback. Aaron Rodgers, he's done with Green Bay. I would bet money on that. And on top of that, I think that they're going to have to make some changes with their special teams unit. And I think, in fact, the Packers already said that next year they're going to look into keeping their starters play special teams. So,
yeah, and they're not going to have a lot of starters left because Devontae Adams is gone. Aaron Jones is still there, but they paid him a lot of money over the offseason, hopefully to win a Super Bowl. And then Rodgers is gone. I mean, he wouldn't play special teams either anyways, but
hey,
I don't know.
Jair
cool Alexander, he's going to be back, but that team's going to look a lot different if Rodgers is not there. So,
and they were in the NFC Championship last year. This year, when are you going to get over that hump? It'd be different if you got over the hump and lost in the big game.
They've been in the NFC divisional or championship game 4 of the last 5 years, so
it just
they've
can't.
lost every single one of them.
Yeah, they won the Super Bowl back in 2011, I believe. Yeah. That was, how?
That was a long time ago.
I think that says a lot about Mike McCarthy. Obviously, years ago when he was with Green Bay, only won 1 and with 8 years of Aaron Rodgers. Also, you look at Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, but now it's Rodgers. You see Rodgers as well. I mean, he just does not perform in the playoffs very well. We'll see how he goes with another team next year. I mean, they're going to make the playoffs, whatever team he's on. He's going to get his team to the playoffs, but it just depends on his play. See if they can maybe win a divisional or championship game.
He's going to Denver.
Yeah.
He is going to Denver. The Big 3, brought to you by Information on Demand Pre-Employment Screening Services, offering fast, accurate, and affordable background screening services. Whether you need criminal background checks, drug screenings, E-Verify, academic accreditations, or other screening services, they've got you guys covered. It's easy. You can rest easy knowing that a highly trained search team will get you the information you need in 8 hours or less, just one night's sleep, as you said a few weeks back, Spence. 8 hours or less. Information on Demand. They're fast, accurate, and affordable. That's the Big 3. Pre-employment background screening services. Give them a call today, 855-914-4636. That's 914-4636, or visit informationondemand.net. Informationondemand.net brings you our Big 3, and this week we're going to talk about the recent coaching news. Obviously, we look at Sean Payton stepping down as head coach, retiring.
Yeah.
As head coach of the New Orleans Saints.
For maybe a year max.
Maybe a year, or maybe gets talked back into coaching. I can never tell when that guy's telling the truth. If you watch, just his body language throws me off. Sean Payton retiring, Urban Meyer back in the headlines. Where do you want to start, Spence? Where do you want me to dive in here?
Let's go Sean Payton.
Let's go Sean Payton. All right, so Sean Payton randomly says earlier this week, hey, I'm retiring. He set up a press conference with the New Orleans Saints and said, hey, this is it. I spoke with the head office, everybody up top, the front office, and I'm done. My time here is over with. And then you kind of do a little bit of research, and they're $71 million over the cap space. They have no franchise quarterback. Unfortunately, with Sean Payton, the guy that believed in Jameis, not being with the team anymore. Jameis is out of a job.
Yeah, he'll
100%.
go somewhere else.
He'll go somewhere else. You've got Michael Thomas, who's overpaid, coming off an injury, who set out an entire year with an ankle injury. A lot of guys are not coming back. They were a pretty bad team this year in the division, NFC South. They're still bottom 2 team in that division. It's a tough place to want to go play football or go coach. That's not a destination I want to land. You look at the Superdome, yeah, there's a lot of history there. It's cool and all just to know that you're in a cool city with a great fan base, but you look at all things considered, that is not a top 5 destination for me. I'd rather go to the New York Giants than New Orleans, 100%.
Yeah, I think
easier division up there too.
I think it's a hard division at the moment, but if Brady were to retire, the NFC South is going to be an absolute shit show next year. I mean, Bucs quarterback could be Blaine Gabbert. Falcons quarterback is probably not going to be Matt Ryan next year. Panthers quarterback is Sam Darnold next year because they picked up his 5th-year option after his 2nd game with Carolina. And then the Saints quarterback, they're gonna get someone. I mean, maybe Russell Wilson, depending on who they hire as head coach. So that's if Brady retires, that's a good opportunity to go to. But if Brady does not retire, I mean, I'm not going to New Orleans, even though Sean Payton statistically owns Brady in games. Now that Payton's gone, I don't know how the Saints are going to play. So it's going to be weird seeing Sean Payton not be there anymore, and I think the Saints are going to go back to the brown bag over their head era like the Buccaneers had in the middle 2010s and like that, the 70s. The Saints were like that for 30 years, even with Manning as their quarterback in the 80s and 70s. I think they're going to go back to that if they don't get a good head coach here.
Yeah, and again, we talk about Sean Payton officially retiring from the New Orleans Saints organization. He said he's retiring from coaching to take part in TV, media, broadcasting games.
Yeah, this reminds me a lot of the Mike McCarthy situation where he retired from the Packers a couple years ago, 3 years ago.
He set out a year. Yep.
Got hired by the Cowboys. I mean, in that year that you sit out, you just watch film the entire time. I mean, it didn't work for McCarthy. Cowboys are still not a good team. They lost in the playoffs, but Sean Payton's already a better head coach than McCarthy, so we'll see how that goes. I think he's going to sit out a year and then go to a really good team.
And Sean's going to be up in the broadcast booth.
Maybe even
Tampa. See a lot of different.
In a year.
I hate the guy. He's a great head coach, though, and if he came to Tampa, go Sean Payton. He's a great coach, and he knows how to get under the skin of fans because he's been underneath my skin for. When did he went to New Orleans in 05, 06, something like that?
Yeah, 06.
Yeah.
He has one of the most punchable faces of all time.
So, and he obviously calls games to, rub it in your face. I mean, he put in Jameis Winston against the Bucs, had Jameis throw a 40-yard pass in the playoff game last year, and that was painful, man. So Sean Payton will sit out 1 year. I thought maybe Dallas would sign him next season, but after I think about it, Jerry Jones hangs on to his coaches for way too long. He's going to give Mike McCarthy way too long. McCarthy will still be the head coach of the Cowboys, even though he shouldn't be. He'll be there another 3 years at least. So Sean Payton will not go to the Dallas Cowboys here next season. Write it down. I would bet money on that. And also, we're going to move on now to another coaching situation. Urban Meyer was recently on a podcast, had an interview, and he was talking about the NFL. And he says, and I quote, "It was the worst experience I've had in my professional lifetime." Urban Meyer. And I can only imagine what the assistant coaches, all of his players thought of him.
I'm sure the players thought the exact same
his
thing.
Family was probably like, dude, you brought it on, back to the house. It wasn't just at the job. He said, and I quote, "Used to be in college, the reality is you spend 75% of your time recruiting, and professional football, there's no recruiting. So it's all scheme and it's all roster management." So he's a bad football coach.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying.
He's a good recruiter.
He is.
He should have stayed in college.
He says you're getting guys rolling in on your organization on a Tuesday, and they're going to play for you on a Sunday. So there is some obvious differences in the two levels of football. And again, no doubt, Urban Meyer pretty much admitted that he is not a great head coach. It was all, him being able to talk to people, being able to network with all these athletes, the high school coaches that have great athletes each and every year that he can get at Ohio State or that he got at Florida over the years. He also says, "What really got me, I almost didn't want to say people accept it. I mean, you lose a game and you just I would seriously have self-talk. I went through that whole depression thing too, where I'd stare at the ceiling and think, are we doing everything possible? Obviously not. The guy's out at bars. He's kicking his kicker in practice. I mean, what a joke. Urban Meyer continues to find his name in national media, and hopefully he doesn't get another shot to coach. I don't wish him any chance.
No NFL at least.
Oh yeah, NFL's over with.
Maybe in 3 years he could be a college coach again.
He's a little bit older though. I think he's in his
Well, I mean,
mid to late 60s.
He quit Florida because he had heart attack problems, and then goes back to coach Ohio State. So he's been like this his whole career, putting the blame on others or just getting out of any situation he can if he feels like he's not going to win anymore.
Yeah, he's chicken shit. He also says that it eats away at your soul. I tried to train myself to say, okay, it happens in the NFL. At one point, the Jaguars lost 20 in a row. Think about that. 20 games where you're leaving the field when you lost, and we lost 5 in a row. And at one point, I remember I just couldn't function. Again, talking about what Urban Meyer said in this interview. He's making it seem like he's the victim here. Like, oh, you know what? I didn't bring any of this upon me. It was all just inflicted by the Jaguars organization and their players, but that was not really the case. It all starts with the coaching and the fact that he was only able to have successful years in college football because he was great at recruiting. He had the best recruiting class every other year, it seemed like, with Ohio State, with Florida. And again, especially at Ohio State, he didn't have to deal with Alabama until later in the season. But all in all, Urban Meyer back in the topics here on the podcast, and hopefully that's it for Urban, talking about all of his bull snarky that he has going on and all of his feel pity, feel sorry for me type stuff. Again, Urban Meyer and Sean Payton, kind of that initial point one or point A of this big three. The second item, of course, being the AFC Championship game on Sunday at 3 o'clock. Cincinnati travels to Kansas City. And earlier in the season, 3-4 weeks ago, Cincinnati beat Kansas City.
Yeah.
This game's in Kansas City, though, so you do have to consider all things in this situation, especially with it being a playoff game. Joe Burrow's insane, but we talk about experience in the playoffs. You talked about it last week, Spence, with the Chiefs and Bills. You said Pat Mahomes has way more experience than Josh Allen in these big games. He's going to win this football game. That's exactly what happened. Joe Burrow is feeling the heat right now. He's playing really good. Bengals are playing good. Offensively, defensively, they got the job done, but, I mean, they're still a weak link, and Pat Mahomes should have a pretty good game here at home on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, I want the Bengals to win this game, but I know the Chiefs are going to win this game. I mean, Mahomes is going to make the Super Bowl 3 years in a row, win it maybe this year. I mean, he lost last year to Tampa Bay, but I think we might see a rematch of the Super Bowl, Chiefs and 49ers, that occurred just 2 years ago, which doesn't seem like that's true, but it was. The 49ers were in the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and I think the Chiefs are going to be back in it this year. We'll see if the Niners are as well.
Yeah, that's crazy. I forgot about that Super Bowl matchup a few years ago. I really did. And some people were like, oh, you know what? We want to see a completely new setup here in the playoffs and the Super Bowl, and they named off those two teams.
Yep.
And now that you say it was just 2 years ago, it's like, well, you know what? Maybe you should pull for the Bengals, or the Rams, or both. But either way, Chiefs are a 7-point favorite at home. How do you feel about that spread? Do you feel like that's
fair?
Right on
I've
par?
got the Chiefs by a lot in this one, honestly. I mean, last week
gonna be more
they
than
played
14.
a Titans defense. The Bengals played a Titans defense that wasn't great, and they had to rely on their kicker to score 13 of their 19 points. So not what you expected from the Bengals' high-powered offense, and I think the Chiefs are a little bit better of a defense, and they're a hell of a lot better of an offense than the Titans. So I've got the Chiefs in this game by a lot.
You got to give a score. We're getting down to the final 3 games of this NFL season, including the Super Bowl, so I need you to give a score, and then I'll give mine.
Chiefs 34, Bengals 20.
Okay, that's pretty fair. Obviously, the spread 7 points. Chiefs are coming off a shootout in which they were filling themselves. They stepped up when it mattered the most offensively. And
they just put up 42 points against the best defense in the league.
Yeah,
the
so I'm going to say 52. I'm going to say a 50 burger.
I could see them. Yeah.
I say a 50 burger on top of, give me 23 for the Bengals. I think that the kicker still does his thing. McPherson does his thing. I think Joe Burrow has a decent game, but ultimately it's just going to be so tough for them to slow down the Chiefs' offense.
And if the Bengals win this game, then it's going to have to be Joe Mixon running for 100-something plus yards.
Over 150.
I mean, he does that a good amount of the time, but they're going to need to control the ball most of the game. They're going to definitely have to have at least 10 minutes over time of possession than the Chiefs. So I've got the Chiefs in this game just based off the fact that I don't think they can do that.
Yeah, if the Bengals get in a shootout, they're going to be in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to outduel Pat Mahomes right now at this point in the season? I don't know anybody. Some people might argue Matt Stafford in the Super Bowl. I highly doubt that.
Yeah, that team's been together for so long. I mean,
yeah, you're just not out.
They've had the same key pieces for 3 years now. Back-to-back Super Bowls. They're going to go to another one this year. So, and I think it's because of their experience, and it comes down to that. And the Bengals have 0. They were in the bottom of the AFC North last year. Now they're in the championship.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's very impressive that Joe Burrow came back, firing on all cylinders, helped this team look like a serious playoff threat after tearing his ACL last season. Also on Sunday, the NFC Championship Game. San Francisco 49ers at Los Angeles Rams. Again, we are going to mention our hot takes here. This game is set for 6:30 kickoff, and the Rams a 3.5-point favorite, which tells me that they expect this to be a low-scoring game, which I highly doubt. As much as I hope that the 49ers win this game and win this game big, Jimmy G is not a great quarterback. We saw it last week. He completed, 11 passes?
Yeah.
There's no way that this team puts up more than 17 points. So they're saying that this is going to be a 23-24-17 ball game. The Rams barely win. No shot in hell. I'll say 37-17 Rams run away with this one. And I think 7 of these points come in the fourth quarter alone for San Francisco to try to make it a game. I think 37-17. Give me the Rams. They'll advance to the Super Bowl, and they'll play the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. And you know what? Here's my hot take. I'm going to go ahead and heat it up for you guys. I'm predicting the Super Bowl 2 weeks in advance, 3 weeks in advance. Or is it 2?
2.
2 weeks in advance. Give me the Chiefs. I'll say 45-24. 45-24 Chiefs over the Rams in the Super Bowl in 2 weeks.
Yeah, that'd be a cool hot take if it was correct, because the 49ers are going to win this game. Jimmy Garoppolo is going to have one of the best performances of his life, somehow, some way, and I think the 49ers are going to beat the Rams on Sunday at 6:30. This is an NFC West matchup, both these teams from the NFC West, and that is the toughest division in football over the past couple of years, even though Seattle was awful this year. They still had 3 teams make the playoffs in the Cardinals, Rams, and 49ers. And these games always are pretty high scoring, even though Jimmy G's at quarterback versus Matthew Stafford. Jimmy G's going to have a good game in this one, and Deebo Samuel's going to run wild. Kittle's going to have a big game. Their defense is, I would say, better than the Rams. They have a pretty good offensive line. I think this is a great matchup, and I've got the 49ers in this game by 7. It's going to come down to the wire, and I think Jimmy G's going to come through.
You know, I hope that you're right, but here's my reasoning for thinking that you're wrong. The 49ers have beaten the Rams twice this season. There's no way you go for 3 on the year.
I think they do. I mean, Shanahan is a good coach, and I think Jimmy G is a winner. People say he's a winner. Sherman said he's a winner. Everyone seems to love Jimmy G's energy, how he wins games somehow, some way. Yeah. He just seems to get it done, and you can credit that to him. I credit it to his team, but I think this is going to be one of his best performances, and it's going to be a rematch of the 2019 Super Bowl between the Chiefs and Niners.
So that's your hot take right there?
Yep.
Okay. The Super Bowl aspect or the fact that the Niners win this game? Both, okay.
Because I already predicted the Chiefs to win if the Niners win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, okay. All right. So, obviously, Deebo Samuel has to go off in this game for the 49ers to win. Give me his stat line for this game. He's going against probably Jalen Ramsey, all things considered.
Who am I? Jimmy G?
No, talking about Deebo. Give me Deebo's stat line.
Debo.
Consider Jimmy G the quarterback.
Deebo rushes for 50 yards and a touchdown, 67 yards receiving, no touchdowns, but then you have Kittle. Kittle's going to go for over 100 and a touchdown. I think they're going to get the run game going with Elijah Mitchell. I think that they're just going to control. That's what they do. They can control the ball. They can take all the time off the clock they want to. Their offense is good. They've got a good head coach, and I think they've got this game in the bag.
Well, again, I think that you're wrong, but I do hope that you're right. That sounds like a double-edged sword. I'm pulling for you to be right, Spence. It is a hot take, so if you're wrong, whatever. If you're right, mad props, and you've done it a lot this year. You predicted that the Jacksonville Jaguars would beat, which game was that? I forget. The Colts, and you were right. Knocked the Colts out of the playoffs. You called that. I would bet money that you're one of the maybe 50 guys that have a podcast or a sports talk radio show in the country that it said, hey, you know what? The Colts will lose to the Jaguars, and you were right, and I would put money on that. I said that a couple of times this week, and even though you still owe me $5 from a bet months ago, I'm still willing to bet you money that you're right.
I remember last week you said if my hot take was correct, then...
Was that last week?
Yeah.
Huh? Okay, are you trying to just con me right here?
Nope.
Okay. I don't know. Anyways, either way, I hope that you're right. And the Big Three and the hot take this week brought to you by Information On Demand. Check them out, informationondemand.net. Give them a call, 855-914-4636. Again, please share the podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, TikTok, Apple Podcast, Anchor, whole 9 yards. And do us a favor. please go subscribe to our YouTube. We really do appreciate each and every like and comment that we get. A simple share goes a long way here with TCM Pod. Again, TCM Pod, happy to be back with you guys once more as we talk playoff football, and look forward to next week as we near the Super Bowl and come back once more. I think that we do have some more games to call on Wednesday, so our next episode will air once more on, that's a lot of once more.
Friday's the best.
Friday is the day that this will air next week, so tune back in, TCM Pod. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, TCM_pod. Easy as that.
And remember,
TCM_pod.
kids, only you can prevent wildfires.
As always, thanks for tuning in.